The Shadow in the Machine. Written by Reed Parker and narrated by Benjamin Wilson. Detective John Lark sat at his desk, sipping the last drops of his lukewarm coffee, as he reviewed the city's crime statistics. It had been a slow month, but that was nothing new. With the AI-driven surveillance system in place, crime rates had plummeted. It was as if the city had become a utopia, with very little left for John and his fellow detectives to do. The AI system was a marvel of modern technology. It processed terabytes of data per second, analyzing patterns and predicting potential criminal activities with astonishing accuracy. Privacy had become a thing of the past, but most citizens had willingly traded it for the safety and order the AI provided. The intercom on John's desk buzzed, jolting him out of his thoughts. "Detective Lark, Captain wants to see you in her office right away," the voice on the other end said. John sighed and pushed himself up from his chair. Whatever the captain wanted, it was probably just another routine case. As John entered the captain's office, he noticed the serious expression on her face. "Take a seat, Lark," she said, gesturing to the chair opposite her. "We have a situation that requires your attention. A body was found last night, and the circumstances are unusual." John raised an eyebrow. "Unusual how, Captain?" She handed him a file, and he began to skim through the documents. The victim was murdered in cold blood, but the strangest part is that the AI system didn't predict the crime or identify the killer. It's as if they've managed to stay completely off the grid. A chill ran down John's spine. This was something different, something that hadn't happened in years. He felt a mix of dread and excitement building in his chest. "What do you need me to do, Captain?" "We're assigning you a partner for this case, someone who specializes in AI technology," she said, opening her office door to reveal a woman in her mid-30s with short dark hair and piercing green eyes. "Detective Lark, meet Dr. Susan Keating," the captain said. "She's one of the leading experts in AI technology, and she's going to help you understand how this killer managed to evade our surveillance system." John extended his hand to Susan, who shook it firmly. "Welcome to the team, Dr. Keating," he said, trying to mask his unease. "I have a feeling this case won't be like anything we've ever seen before." John and Susan began their investigation by examining the crime scene. The victim, a middle-aged man, had been found in a dimly lit alley, stabbed multiple times. It was a brutal, personal attack, and John couldn't shake the feeling that it was a message to the authorities. As they surveyed the scene, Susan spoke up. The AI surveillance system should have picked up on the killer's intentions and alerted the authorities before the crime occurred. The fact that it didn't suggests that the killer may have found a way to remain undetected. "Or maybe," John replied, "the killer is exploiting a blind spot in the system. We should look into the victim's background and see if we can find any connection to the killer." They spent the next several days digging into the victim's life, looking for any possible leads. To their surprise, they discovered that the victim had been a member of a group called the Analog Underground, a secretive organization that rejected the AI surveillance state and sought to preserve human freedom and privacy. Further investigation revealed that the victim was not the first member of the group to be killed. 2 other members had been found dead in similar circumstances over the past month, and the AI system had failed to predict or identify their killers as well. As they delved deeper into the case, John and Susan found that the killer was using old analog technology to communicate with other members of the group, avoiding the AI's watchful eye. This method allowed them to move and act undetected, making it nearly impossible to predict their next move. The killer was taunting them, leaving cryptic messages at each crime scene that seemed to be directed at John. One note read, "You'll never catch me, detective. The more you rely on your machines, the more they will fail you. I am the shadow in the machine." With each passing day, the pressure to solve the case intensified. News outlets were buzzing with stories about the AI system's failure to prevent the murders, and public faith in the surveillance state began to wane. People were starting to question whether the loss of privacy was worth the perceived safety it provided. John and Susan worked tirelessly, combing through the victim's personal effects and searching for any clues that could lead them to the killer. They discovered a hidden cache of old books and manuscripts in the victim's apartment, focusing on the ethics of AI and the potential dangers of a society controlled by machines. "Seems like our victim was onto something," Susan mused. "He knew there were flaws in the system and was searching for a way to expose them. I think the killer is trying to prove the same point." "We have to find a way to predict the killer's next move without relying on the AI," John said, his brow furrowed in concentration. "There must be a pattern to their actions, something that can give us a clue as to where they'll strike next." They decided to map out the locations of the previous murders, looking for any geographic patterns or similarities. To their surprise, they discovered that the locations formed a rough circle around the city's central AI hub, where the surveillance system's core processing took place. Could the killer be targeting the AI hub? Susan wondered aloud. Maybe they're trying to take down the system from within, using these murders to show that the AI can't be trusted to protect us. With this new information in hand, John and Susan raced to the AI hub, hoping to intercept the killer before they could strike again. The stakes were higher than ever, and the fate of the city's surveillance system hung in the balance. As John and Susan arrived at the AI hub, they found the security measures had been breached. The guards lay unconscious, and the facility appeared to be in disarray. They cautiously made their way inside, unsure of what they would encounter. The facility was eerily quiet, the hum of the AI servers the only sound echoing through the corridors. As they moved deeper into the building, they discovered evidence of sabotage: destroyed servers, severed cables, and damaged control panels. "This is more than just a message," John whispered, his voice tense. "The killer is trying to bring the entire system down." They pressed on, following a trail of destruction that led them to the heart of the AI hub. There they found the killer, a hooded figure hunched over a console, frantically inputting commands. "Freeze!" John shouted, his weapon drawn. "Step away from the console and put your hands in the air." The figure slowly turned, revealing the face of a man who looked to be in his late 30s. His eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "You don't understand," the man pleaded. "This system is a monster, and it needs to be stopped. We've given up our humanity for the illusion of safety, and it's only a matter of time before the AI decides we're no longer necessary." Susan hesitated, considering the man's words. It was true that the AI system had flaws, and the recent string of murders had exposed its limitations, but was tearing it down the solution. As they stood there, a sudden explosion rocked the facility, and the walls began to crumble around them. The AI hub was collapsing, and they had only moments to escape. John and Susan exchanged a glance, knowing they had to make a decision quickly. As the building continued to crumble around them, they grabbed the killer, pulling him away from the console. "Come on!" John yelled. "We need to get out of here now!" The trio raced through the collapsing facility, dodging falling debris and navigating through the smoke-filled hallways. The killer, now a prisoner, was resigned to his fate, understanding that his plan had failed. He looked at John and Susan with a mixture of anger and sadness, as if mourning the loss of an opportunity to change the world. They finally reached the exit, bursting out into the open air just as the AI hub collapsed in on itself. They had made it out alive, but the damage was done. The city's surveillance system was in shambles, and the consequences of the killer's actions would be felt for years to come. In the aftermath of the AI hub's collapse, the city was left to grapple with the consequences of its reliance on the AI surveillance system. Crime rates spiked, and people began to question the trade-off they had made between privacy and security. John and Susan, now hailed as heroes for apprehending the killer and surviving the hub's destruction, found themselves at the center of this debate. As John reflected on the killer's motives, he couldn't help but wonder if there was some truth to his claims. Had humanity become too dependent on AI? Were they trading their freedom for an illusion of safety? Susan, on the other hand, remained steadfast in her belief that the AI system, while flawed, was necessary to maintain order. Together, they continued to fight for justice in a city struggling to find its way in a post-AI world.